Okay, guys, it's good night, and as you can see, it's 9:58. And this time, I'll be recording information about flowchart hierarchy of living things. And we use this hierarchy of living things to basically list all the units of life and stuff in order from the smallest to the largest possible unit. And on the smaller end, we have atom, and on the larger end, we have ecosystem. Anyways, there are 13 of them, and you need to remember them all for year 11 biology because this thing will be in the test. And it's important because if you don't remember it, you'll probably lose 6 marks. So right now, I'm going to close my eyes and I remember them all. And guys, I know you can't see my face, but trust me, I'm closing my eyes for this one. The first one we have is atoms, and atoms are, the basic building blocks of everything. It's the smallest possible unit of everything that makes up everything. It's so small you can't see it. And atoms make up molecules, basically multiple atoms attached together. And molecules make up macromolecules, and this is the thing that we haven't touched on in year 11 physics or chemistry or whatever subject teaches about molecules. Anyway, molecules continue to make up organelles. So these will be things that we are more familiar with, like ribosome or chloroplast or mitochondria or the powerhouse of the cell. So those things. And organelles make up cells. And cells are basic units of life. Remember, it's basic units of life. So it's the smallest thing that can be alive. And cells go on to make tissues, and tissues go on to make organs. Hold on, no. Tissue, organ. Yeah, sounds right. Sounds right. Because when you have a heart, you would have heart tissue, right? Organs make up organ systems, and organ systems together make up an organism. That is basically a living thing that you see every day. And an organism will go on to make, no, multiple organisms will go on to make species. And a species is basically a group of organisms that have similar characteristics and can reproduce fertile offspring. That is the textbook definition of species. So when you have a test, just fill that in, and you would guarantee to get 100% right. And after species, we will have population. And population, I guess it's multiple species, but you don't really need to know what population is. And after population, you have community, so that's larger than population. I don't even know the definition for these two, but I don't think you need to. Anyway, the last one we have is an ecosystem. Ecosystem is everything that you see. For example, when you're in a forest, when you are saying ecosystem, you're referring to everything you're seeing and not seeing, basically everything that is around you. So the alive and not the alive, and whatever it is, it's all included in the ecosystem. So now I'm opening up my eyes again, and it's great to see light again. I'm going to go through the list to see if I miss anything: atoms, molecules, macromolecules, organelles, cell, tissue, organ system, organism, species. But nope, should be correct. And there's one more thing I need you guys to know. Cell. I drew 2 lines in front of cell because cell is basically where the boundary for living things and non-living things is. So anything that's before cell is not seen as alive, and basically things after cell are seen as alive. I accept these 4 because they are not individual organisms, and you can't have, a species that's alive or a population that's alive. That's ridiculous. So keep that in mind. I'm going to get rid of the line because I know what cell is and I know that it's alive. And cells are so important because they are basic units of life. And you know who said this? Well, cell theory said this. Actually, whoever came up with the cell theory said it. But I don't know his name, so I'm gonna say cell theory said cells are basic units of life, and that basically means they are small and they are alive, and organelles, despite being smaller, are not alive. The second point in cell theory is they come from pre-existing cells. This is important because cells reproduce by um, splitting, or in other forms, but splitting from pre-existing cells. You will see a cell splitting in two, and two splitting into four, and that's basically how they reproduce. And you can see why this would make sense because you can't just have a cell popping out of nowhere, right? Anyways, that's the second point. And the third one is they contain hereditary information or DNA. And this is important because DNA is information that determines who you are as a person. It's the information that carries from generation to generation that determines who you are or what you are. Because I think you've heard this sometimes because you've heard this from the public that humans and chimpanzee are 97 or 98 something percent similar DNA wise because we share about 97 to 98% of DNA that's in common. If I'm wrong, just keep in mind that I didn't research before I said that. So I said that all of my mind, and I should have probably checked that before I did the video. But anyways, this is important. Don't mess up your DNA. You don't want to mess that up because you will end up giving messed up children, babies, that is. Anyways, this is the cell theory. And what the cell theory did is actually defeating a rather ridiculous theory that was popular back in the days. That was called spontaneous generation. And I have to talk about spontaneous generation because it's a funny topic and I enjoy a lot talking about funny things. Spontaneous generation is a theory that people believed in that basically says living things generates spontaneously. Well, actually, living things just pops up out of nowhere from non-living things. So that's how they explained where life came from at their time. So they would think that a baby mouse would pop up somehow, like spontaneously, like magic, from a dirty cloth and some crop. And they actually did an experiment where they put some food in a pot and they left the lid open. I think it's 21 days later. They checked the pot and there were baby mice in there. And that's how they, proved that this was a working theory. But looking back now, nah, it's just steady cross this out, and we have a better thing called cell theory. Anyways, well, I today I covered the hierarchy of living things and the cell theory. Both important, very basic, very fundamental stuff for your biology. So keep these two in mind and remember the 13 of them.